I will be testing 50 plus games on the MacBook Air. Subscribe and comment below which game you want me to test. How well does GTA 5 run on the 2020 MacBook Air with Intel Iris Plus graphics G7 Ice Lake GT2 Gen 11? Woo, that's a mouthful. If you want the best gaming experience, you gotta do it on Windows. I'll show you how to do that as well. Alright, let's get into the GTA 5 gaming test on the MacBook Air. Right off the bat, the GPU performance is decent, but notice within minutes it does start to throttle a bit via heat and power limit. This means that the MacBook Air is too thin and they didn't squeeze a large enough fan into the MacBook to cool it properly. It power limits because it can't provide itself enough power to run at a sustained workload. Unfortunately, they did this intentionally. If you want true performance, you should get the MacBook Pro because it is unhindered and operates like it should. We get decent performance in the 40s while indoors, then it starts to drop from around 30 and eventually to 25. When driving and in intense moments, it may even drop to 21 and even sometimes 19. Generally, you want 30 FPS if you're a console gamer, or around 40 to 60 if you're used to PC gaming. The fact that it drops below 30 means it's not performing well. However, it won't be like this with all games. Also, a disclaimer, even though it drops below 30, it still performs as if it's 30. It's really odd how it's still somehow able to be smooth even though the performance is dropping below 30. We'll talk about this more a little later. This channel specializes in tech advice, helping you pick the correct machines with gaming tests and tech reviews. Let me know which games you want me to test by leaving a comment below. Subscribe to see more gaming tests as well. I'll be testing 50 plus games. The more people sub, the more games I'll test. If you want to know how I got GTA 5 running on a Mac, skip to the section that shows how to install Windows, because you gotta get Windows if you want to run GTA 5 on a Mac. To fully understand what you need to do, the short answer is you gotta get Windows, because games will almost always run better in a Windows environment. This means you need to install Windows. If you get a controller, it will reduce the lag you feel while gaming on GTA 5. It doesn't even feel like the game is lagging. It's fairly smooth. This is surprising. It must be some kind of optimization tweak. Highly recommend gaming on a controller. If the game is GTA 5, obviously not for first-person shooters. This is a question I get asked a lot. My laptop is hot while gaming. Is it safe? The short answer is it is designed to run hot, but not for many years, and heat does reduce the life of your machine. However, the MacBook Airs are made from metal and they do feel a lot hotter than most machines while gaming. This means that it gives the impression that it's too hot, but really, if the machine is overheating, it can shut itself down to prevent damage. So while running the machine hot does potentially reduce its life, since components that get hot degrade over time, it doesn't directly cause any damage. You can notice or see. Some people think that it causes some damage slowly over time. Others think it causes no damage. I'm sort of in the no damage camp. I had many MacBooks and gamed on all of them without any problems. Even my custom built PCs that I made didn't have any issues running hot at 80C and even 90C. Its life was probably reduced, but it's hard to say how much. And even now, when gaming on this MacBook Air, I'm running at about 100 Celsius. This is how these MacBooks were designed. The GTA 5 benchmark really doesn't do the game justice. Really playing the game like I did earlier in the beginning shows off the game's performance much better. While it looks a little stuttery and slow at times, it can still be played and enjoyed. And after all, that's the important part. Yes, the graphical fidelity is reduced, but God, look at how good the game looks even at its lowest resolution and lowest graphical settings. It still looks great, and you can still play it. It's really nothing short of a marvel that it's running. There will always be naysayers when it comes to gaming on MacBooks. Don't listen to these people. They are just usually Apple haters. Although yes, it's true gaming on Mac is more difficult, it is well worth it. And Apple is making a comeback. If your true desire is to game in a MacBook and only game and nothing else, then yes, maybe a gaming PC would be better. You'll get better smoothness and you'll get great FPS, you'll have tons of storage and great looking graphics thanks to a dedicated graphics chip. But you know what? An ugly gaming PC will never be a MacBook. MacBooks can be used for a variety of tasks. They have great speakers and great trackpads, and it does all those tasks very well, like video editing, coding, 3D modeling, photo editing. Overall, if you're a designer or engineer, there's a good chance at some point you'll be using a MacBook, because its design is great, and artists will also gravitate to it. Who wants an ugly gaming PC when they can get a MacBook? Design their own games, design their own music, have a thin, sleek machine that represents who they are as a professional. You just never get the same style and feel from other machines. Razer comes close. Check out this card to see more about Razer products. They are impressive, but still not as good as a MacBook. Definitely better than most gaming PCs though. The best config for the MacBook Air while gaming is the 16GB RAM. With 8GB, your system will experience more slowdowns. Most games will need about 8 to 16GB of RAM to run smoothly, and mostly because the iGPU in the chip that gives your graphics doesn't have its own dedicated VRAM, so it shares with the RAM by borrowing its RAM and converting it to VRAM, basically reducing how much available RAM you have in the system. I don't think the quad core is as useful if you want to game, but I do suspect that the 2 additional cores will also slow down the machine and also possibly cause it to overheat. You might even get the quad core but disable the 2 cores while gaming in certain games. It might even improve the performance. If the 2 cores can run without thermal throttling, that will free up the iGPU to run much better because it's going to be working with much better temps. Although the i7 version does come with a better graphics chip, since the machine overheats already, it won't be as useful. Okay, so here's my setup for the Mac gaming. Essentially, I have a controller. This is going to really help reduce the input lag for a lot of games, especially games like GTA 5. I've got a hub to plug in my SSD and my mouse. This SSD is a Samsung SSD, the T3. They also have a T5 available now. Great for storing your games, it's really quick. And then a cheap $20 Logitech mouse. And I got Windows installed, so if you are going to game, definitely get Windows installed, and I'll show you how to do that in this video. So this is what the Xbox One controller looks like. It's really comfortable, it's got really nice clicky buttons, great feel. Definitely a must-have if you're a gamer, especially because gaming with a keyboard, it can sometimes be a little glitchy and laggy. So I highly recommend you guys pick one of these up. I'll have links in the description. And then here's a quick overview of the hub. It's got HDMI, it's got Ethernet, it's got pretty much everything you need, and I've been using it for a while. I do have a dedicated review of this product as well, so if you guys want to take a quick peek at that. Comes with 3 USB ports, a fast charging port, you got micro SD and standard SD card slots, and even an additional USB-C power port to charge the hub or to give it more power, because sometimes some hubs require more power if you're doing many things like powering monitors and that kind of thing. So yeah, it just kind of plugs in, and then I plug in all my other peripherals directly into it. I do like this T3 Samsung SSD drive a lot. I've been using it for many years without any issues. If you guys need additional storage, highly recommend these Samsung T3 drives. I just cannot say enough good things about these drives. There is also a really cool hub that I got from directly from the Apple Store. It's a decent little hub. This one is special because it supports 2 monitors. Now I did have a dual monitor setup, but I don't use this anymore. So this hub is kind of obsolete, but Apple does sell decent hubs. You can consider getting one from them as well. So you either want to game or you want to install an application that requires Windows. So the first thing you want to think about is how much available storage you have. So I have the 1TB version, so I'm not going to have too many storage issues. So get the most storage possible when getting these MacBooks, because if you're going to install Windows on it, you're going to have to split this drive in half. Search for the Boot Camp Assistant, and let's go ahead and open that up, and I'll guide you through the process. So click continue, and now in this area, this is where you're going to select how big your Windows partition is and how big your Mac OS partition. So as you can see, the bigger the Windows, the smaller the Mac. So where are you going to be putting most of your files? If it's going to be mostly gaming and it's going to be mostly on Windows, make the Windows partition large. If you still need to video edit in Mac OS or do other Mac OS type tasks, maybe you want to do it kind of more in the middle. It really depends on you, and if you have an external drive, maybe you just want to go straight in the middle and not worry too much about who gets more space. And sometimes you might run into issues where you thought you needed more Windows space, but actually you need more Mac OS space. So maybe going somewhere in the middle really is the way to go about this. The next thing we're going to want to do is get an ISO. An ISO is basically just an image of a specific file, and what we need to do is we need to get a Windows ISO. So we're going to go to the Microsoft website and we're going to get a Windows ISO directly from Microsoft. And so the reason why you want to do this is because you want to ensure it doesn't have any viruses. So don't get the ISO from anywhere else but the Microsoft website. Okay, so go ahead and type in Windows ISO, and then usually if it's from the Microsoft website, it should be good to go. We're going to click on that, and now we're going to download our Windows 10 disk image. All right, So we're going to scroll down, we're going to select Windows 10, we're going to confirm it, and then on the next screen, we're going to want to confirm 64-bit. Kind of funny that it asks you all these questions. It should just always be 64-bit at this point. All right, so let's go ahead and select the product language. So select your language. Obviously I speak English, so I'm gonna select that. I'm gonna confirm it. And then once once that's complete, then we're gonna select 64-bit if you got more than 4 GB of RAM. Alrighty. And then get a little question that asks me, do you want to download this from Microsoft? Yes, I do. Okay, and now we're downloading the ISO. So once the ISO is completed downloading here on this bottom right-hand tray, I should be able to continue on from Boot Camp. Now we're also going to plug in our power because without it being plugged in, we risk the battery dying during the install, which could ruin everything. If that happens, it could literally corrupt your Windows install and you just have to restart from the beginning. It would be a hassle. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to select our ISO once it's done downloading, and it'll be in your downloads tray. So I have it selected here. I'm going to click open, and I'm going to click install. So now what it's going to do is it's going to grab that ISO and it's going to get us important drivers and other software for the ISO. Now I'm fast forwarding this part. This part takes a good sometimes 10, 15, maybe even 30 minutes. This whole part, I completely fast forwarded it. And now what it's going to do is it's going to restart the machine automatically for me. And we're going to just go through the Windows prompts. So when it restarts, initially it almost tries to boot as Mac, but then it's like, okay, we're trying to boot into Windows. So now it's doing the Windows installation. So what we've done is we've mounted the ISO and now we're running directly from the ISO. So now we can actually use the ISO to install Windows. So downloading the ISO and mounting the ISO, you haven't really done much. You've just gotten the ISO to do its job, and now the ISO is mounted. So now we're going to actually install Windows. So to install Windows, select your languages, click next. And it's going to ask for a product key. We don't have one. We're not going to worry about this because we're just trying to play games on Windows. Nothing crazy here. Just click you don't have one and then select Windows 10 Pro and click next. All right, got that selected. Pushing next. And remember guys, I'm always here if you have questions. Do not hesitate to leave a comment below. I'm always here to help you guys out. I do want this to be a great tech channel. All right, make sure you read the end user license agreement because if you don't, then all your information will be stolen. That's what usually happens in these agreements. You're just agreeing that all your information will be stolen and sold to other companies. Yeah, usually nobody reads those, but you should actually try reading those. Okay, so now we're copying the Windows files. We're getting the files ready for installation. We're installing features, installing updates, and we're going to finish this next part up. So it is finishing up, and here we are. So the computer restarts, and then this whole part also takes another 15 minutes. And then now it's done. And keep in mind, it takes 15 minutes if you have good internet. If you have slow internet, it could take 30 minutes. All right, so here we're just pressing next, selecting our language, selecting our keyboard. Yes, skip. So it definitely wants an internet connection. You don't necessarily have to do that, but it does make it kind of quicker for the whole process. Plus, you're going to need to update as soon as you install Windows. So usually I think it's better to just have internet connection. I usually try to do it without. Then it wants you to create a password, create one, and then choose your privacy settings. So normally I would say delete all of these or just say no on all of them. But there may be some you might be interested in, like the location services one. But honestly, I would just say no on all of them. And Cortana is kind of annoying, but I think I left it enabled. Okay, so now it's just kind of setting it up, doing some more installations. It's almost there. Okay, so now we're booted into Windows. So here I am in Windows. Now this prompt here is pretty important. This is your drivers. So Boot Camp wants to get you drivers for your Windows. And so what it's doing is it's getting drivers specifically for the MacBook Air keys, like the brightness control, the volume control. And so it's just going to make your Mac experience much more fluid. We definitely want to do this. Going to click install, going to scroll down on the end user license agreement, and we're just going to let it do its thing. And once it's all installed, you just restart your PC and you're pretty much done and good to go. Okay, it's done. It does recommend a restart. I don't think you necessarily have to do this, but some of your stuff might not work properly if you don't do it, so you might as well just do it. Okay, now that it's installed, we can go ahead and get Steam installed, and then from there, that's it. You'll basically have Windows and you'll have your Steam. So when you want to switch back to Mac OS, all you do is you restart the computer and you hold down the Option key and select Mac OS. So here I'm showing you how to get Steam. So I just search for Steam in Google, and then I click on download Steam on the Steam website, click yes on these prompts because I am installing it. And essentially what I'm doing here is I'm just getting Steam running properly on my Windows machine. And if you guys have questions about how to get this working, I mean, I do show you how to do it here, but it does move kind of quickly. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to let me know. I had a few issues where I tried to install the Steam, but it just like wasn't downloading. I'm not really sure why. Anyway, so now it's working. I'm gonna click run here, and we're gonna install Steam. Once you install Steam, you will get a prompt that'll ask you, log into existing or log in or create an account. If you have an account, obviously log into the existing account. If not, just go ahead and create an account. Okay, so here I'm gonna go ahead and get logged in. So now I'm logged in, and so yeah, here I am. So now I can download all my games, and I can essentially play all the games that I don't normally have the ability to play on Mac OS. So I finally got it running, and yeah, so that's how you get Windows on your Mac. So here I'm adding my hard drive because my hard drive has all the games. I selected it. I got about half a terabyte of games. You might not need to do this if you're installing or if you're getting all your games directly on your drive. But yeah, as you can see, I got a bunch of games here. So I'm going to be testing all these games out. If you guys want me to test a specific game in Windows or in Mac OS, definitely let me know in the comment section below and subscribe. Alright, so here I am on Windows playing GTA 5, and this is how you get GTA 5 on your Mac. So yeah, if you guys have questions, let me know. The other thing that's kind of useful is a program called Ninite. So what I do is I go to this website called Ninite, and it allows me to select all of the applications that I find useful. So I search for Ninite, then I scroll down and I check all the apps that are useful. So there's Chrome, there's browsers, imaging, documents, messaging, media, runtime, security. This is pretty useful. And like Classic Start allows you to bring back the Classic Start button. There's a lot of really useful stuff. Take a look here. Maybe you guys will find something useful here to use. This is so useful after a fresh install of Windows. I come here every time after my fresh install of Windows. Very useful. Get my OpenOffice, get my VLC, get my torrenting applications, and you can even grab Steam here. Pretty awesome stuff.